opportunity to transform our processes and our behavior with technology, right? Things that we might underestimate the value that technology can bring to you if you want to make a change to the way how you do things, right? Because technology kind of prompts you to do steps, specifically if you have like a strong process. And if you want to make a big change, you can of course do a lot of training, a lot of education, a lot of kind of engagement. But if you support that with a strong workflow, with a strong automated experience, the slick, nice to follow, and it really helps you, in the most of the cases, you will get a very strong adoption and participation of your end users there.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders in Tech, where we are discovering these bright leaders that are changing the world through technology in their companies. Today we have with us one of those amazing examples, Andie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Andie, for the audience, can you give me your full name? Where do you live? It looks a beautiful background. I know it's a real background. And what do you do for a living?
So my name is Andie Dovgan. I am a chief growth officer for an amazing company called Creatio. And we're probably going to talk a little bit more about that. So we are a no-code vendor focused on workflow automation and CRM. And my goal at the company is to really elevate our brand, help with kind of making sure that we have a very wide coverage of the audience and more companies and people get to know our brand. I live in Boston. I love the city. You can see a beautiful view. You can actually check the flights in the airport because you can see it straight from here. And I grew up in Ukraine and I moved to Boston around 9 years ago.
Oh, so you're only been in the US for 9 years?
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me how that happened. What motivated you to move?
Well, I think that I always wanted to be a part of a global organization. I always wanted to kind of tap into this modern world of technology, and I felt like US is probably the best place for that. And Boston is one of those cities where you have a lot of, I guess, buzz around technology. There are lots of incredible companies built in this space, and I felt always inspired to kind of to be part of this moment. So that was the reason why I've moved.
So, Andie, to be in the position that you are for a technology company, it takes a long time of growth and learning and failures. So let's go back to your youth. I want to emphasize how everything is possible, because I am an immigrant as you are. I moved to Canada when I was early 20s, and I was already married with one kid, and here I am doing podcasts of technology. Like, I feel so blessed, but a lot of things happened for me to be here. So tell me, Andie, back in high school, what did you decide to do at the end of high school? Did you go to school? What did you do?
I went to a regular school. I cannot say that I was extremely motivated while being at school. I was not, like for me it was good. I kind of learned how to build relationships. I learned some basic stuff, and the education system was good enough. But I wasn't that inspired, I guess, with the program and structure. I wanted always to kind of choose my path. And back in 90s, I don't believe, like in Eastern Europe, I don't believe that was kind of the school system that we had back then. Now, when I moved to university, and I specifically decided to pursue my career in psychology. So because I was always fascinated with psychology, with human behavior, with what do we have per se under the hood. And then when I entered university, that's when I got really, really engaged and motivated. I was studying as crazy. I was kind of getting into the university at 7 a.m. and I was the last one to exit it, so they needed to shut the doors. And I was sleeping in the library because I really, really enjoyed kind of learning. And I really invested a lot into understand how to learn, understand how to digest new knowledge, understand how to structure this knowledge. That got very, very useful when I started to build my career.
That's beautiful. So did you graduate from psychology, or what was your major?
Yeah, my major is psychology. So it was far away from tech. Like back then, if someone would tell me that I could make a career in technology and software. I didn't know much about that.
But if you want to be in business or in technology, knowing how the human brain operates and how emotions are involved with your line of thinking is so important. And people don't put enough attention to this because you're always buying and selling from people, regardless of how technically advanced the company is. You're always dealing with people. Every single business is only here to solve people's problems, right?
I can't agree more, David. And also I think about we're in business of enterprise software, right? So we help organizations to solve enterprise level problems with the help of no-code technology, and we'll help them to automate very serious workflows in customer related activities. But every time when you try to bring this kind of technology, you want to innovate and transform, there's always a lot of psychology involved. Like, for example, user adoption. If you decided to deploy a technology that can be a game changer for a business, if your users don't buy into it, if your users reject it, if your users don't use it as intended, then your multi-million investment into this technology probably won't be any use for your business. So I think that there are lots of aspects in psychology, and now with things like generative AI, things like with no code, when this kind of gap between technical people and business people is bridged very aggressively, there are a lot of opportunities to really use this kind of human-centric design to understand how people think, how they behave, and adopt and use that knowledge to help people, as you rightly mentioned, solve problems.
For sure. So, Andie, what did you do right after school? What was your first job?
Like, because I graduated from psychology, I naturally moved into HR function because that's kind of, I didn't want to go into counseling or therapy because I had this always kind of energy within, even though I like that area, I didn't feel I'm built for it because you needed to have a lot of patience, you needed, to kind of pace yourself for this role. So I felt like I'm probably a little bit better suited for in HR world and kind of use the psychology knowledge in business. And I started doing lots of learning and development and some other HR generalism. And that's how I got kind of inspired by a role of marketing and sales. And I started to really kind of understand how to apply my knowledge in not only in the HR area, but also when you interact with customers, when you interact with external world, and got really fascinated because I, by nature, am pretty competitive, and I started to kind of set my sight on like my career in sales or marketing, somewhere where I can see kind of a competition when I can kind of be on another line and have another like competitor running for the same deal. That inspired me a lot.
That is wonderful. When did you first get into technology?
I think that right after HR, I started to be a sales person in a software company. I got introduced to technology, and I moved from like spending a few hours in a few years or in HR. I moved to this kind of my first sales job for a software company. I was selling business applications, and that's where I started to understand how this amazing world works.
Andie, I never heard that somebody from HR will get into software sales. That was amazing. What a change of life, right?
Yeah, look, I moved to like HR to sales, and then recently I moved to marketing like 2 years ago. So I changed 3 fields, and I felt like it's good because you have this opportunity to live 3 different lives. Because back in HR I was very young. I didn't have that kind of level of grasp of what is going on. But I think that my transition from going from sales to marketing, or mostly marketing, because my role is a little bit wider than that, is a very useful way to understand different angles of business and use different kind of knowledge aspects and skills that you gained previously in a little bit different way. So I sincerely appreciated the opportunity to do so.
That is beautiful. Now, when you came to the States, what was the first thing that you did?
I rented an apartment. I came to States in 2015, and in 2015 it was actually it was a kind of a blizzard day and everything got shut down. So I needed to I needed to go and hide in my rented apartment. But also the next day we had this big game between Patriots and Seahawks, and I had zero knowledge about American football, but everyone was talking about American football in Boston. So I kind of watched my first game without understanding rules, and I really enjoyed it, like because it had this kind of big grand finale and the final catch, and it was very emotional, even though I didn't understand like what was going on. But that was my introduction to more kind of American culture that I actually adore. I love being here. I love being connected to this culture.
It's incredible, but so I'm Spanish, so what we watch
Mm,
is football,
yeah,
traditional football. And when I came to Canada, I started to learn about American football, and I realized how intelligent that game is. If you look
yeah.
at the game from the surface, you think that it's a bunch of people hitting each other, right, and pushing each
Mhm.
other, but it's not. It's so much strategy and knowledge. It's almost like a chess game, isn't it?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That was my initial perception, and then I was traveling with one of our business partners to Louisiana, if I'm remembering correctly, and we actually got this opportunity to sit down and watch the full college game, and he really was very helpful to walk me through all the rules, like explain what is going on. And I, same to you, I got really fascinated because if you compare this to like European football or soccer, uh, it's a little bit different game from like level of complexity, level of decisions that you're making, at least like from the surface. Like I cannot say that I'm a big fan of American football. I still prefer to look to watch soccer.
Yeah.
But I am fascinated with the level of complexity and complications of decisions. I also once I got this opportunity to go and watch in live an interview with Tom Brady, and I know that countrywide there are different kind of camps, but I'm a big fan of him, and I was very uh, I was really inspired by that interview because of the way he thinks about stuff, thinks about his team. Like to me, that was a big learning moment.
He was probably the best quarterback that ever lived, right?
Yeah, hats off.
Andy, let's go back to business. Tell me about no code and how your platform is changing the world. Because when I did the screening interview with you, I have come to realize that technology has hit a level where it's incredible that
Mhm.
developers are getting by the day less and less important. To give you an idea, my company, so I run 7 different businesses, 6 of them are in technology. The
Mhm.
strongest business is called ISU Corp, and we build custom applications for our clients. And
Mhm.
up to last year, 40% of our code was already built by AI, right?
Yeah.
But you are one step further. You are actually deploying a platform where
Mhm.
your workers, your knowledge workers, are actually
Yeah.
building their own workflows. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, and I do agree with you, David, that we're kind of staying right now on this kind of age when things will go very different, and we see it already from multiple angles. So, in a nutshell, what no-code approach does, it substitutes professional development, like the coding, with visual forms. Think about that as a combination of different Lego blocks, like visual elements that you take and assemble into a needed workflow or a needed application. And not only you can do that for like small things, but you can also solve big problems with that. Like for example, we work a lot with financial services institutions, with banks, credit unions, with insurance companies, and it would take a typical business problem like customer onboarding or say claim management. So within Creatio, you will come into this kind of visual studio. You will select needed user interfaces, needed elements of user interfaces. You'll select needed business processes, needed business rules that you need to incorporate, and then you will put them into one flow. Now, the word no code doesn't mean that you need developers. You still can use development help, and you can get access to the full-blown IDE and put there a code. But you really like the idea behind Creatio that we empower knowledge workers. Like for example, I don't have any understanding in coding and more technical stuff, but I will be able to build an application using Creatio. Like, for example, I want to track all, I don't know, podcasts that I participate in, or I want to track, I don't know, PR relationships. So to do like a broader workflow, I understand what steps do I need to take. I understand all the checklists and preparation, so I can take all those visual blocks and develop them into an application. And then it also allows us to take a population of developers, technical people, and really apply them where they like to be the most, to solve the most complex technical problems, to find solutions for the most creative situations. That's where we need their skill. If we're talking about like business people and traditional business technologies, we can do much more with that. And with that, we're kind of bridging this gap, because population of developers is not that big. It's small. We need more people, because right now digital is becoming a new way to compete and to strive on markets, right? Digital is no longer like it's your software or like things that helps you to be more productive. It's basically the way how you compete and differentiate on the market for a very wide range of industries.
That's true. Digital became not only the norm, but the competitive advantage. If you don't have a good, strong software platform behind your business, you're going to fail. I just wrote a book actually called AI or Die that talks about that. And the book became very popular last year, because I was telling people, like, if you don't have a strong technology foundation in your business, you're going to be obsolete. And the faster the technology grows and the longer the time goes by, the faster this is going to materialize, right?
Absolutely. And just to piggyback on this, we also have an incredible opportunity to transform our processes and our behavior with technology, right? Things that we might underestimate the value that technology can bring to you if you want to make a change to the way how you do things, right? Because technology kind of prompts you to do steps, specifically if you have like a strong process. And if you want to make a big change, you can of course do a lot of training, a lot of education, a lot of kind of engagement. But if you support that with a strong workflow, with a strong automated experience, the slick, nice to follow, and it really helps you. In the most of the cases, you will get a very strong adoption and participation of your end users there.
That's beautiful. Andie, tell me a bit more about the company, because the company is not so old and it's growing rapidly. How many employees do you guys have now?
Right now we have about 700 people. We are indeed growing very rapidly. So we are one of the fastest growing companies in our category. We're global, so we have representations now in 25 countries. By our kind of nature, by the way how we build this business, we are all very global oriented. So we do have teams in Latin America. We have teams in multiple countries in Latin America. Of course, we are covering the entire US from coast to coast. We have multiple teams in Europe, like France, Germany, Poland. We have teams in the Middle East. So we have teams in Dubai. We have teams in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We have some teams in Asia and Australia, right? And you have people in Indonesia. You have people in Sydney. So, and it's one of those things that I really adore about Creatio, is that it just brings a lot of different cultures, a lot of different people together where we collaborate. So that's a company. So we also operate in a quite competitive market. So you see a lot of different players focused on automation of processes and customer functions. But also because we are a newer organization, we have this benefit of having this modern technology stack and having this kind of modern capability in absence of legacy. So we don't need to take care of like spaghetti code or stuff that was built years and years ago. Now we need kind of to get a better surface to kind of promote it. We have a newer technology, and this allows us to move really, really fast.
You know, Andie, talking about no code, I understand why you guys are growing so fast. How old is the company?
Oh, we've been founded in 2014.
You see, the company is not that old, and it's growing fast because what you guys are building is bridging the gap between developers and knowledge workers. I remember I've been writing software since I was 16 years old. But I remember in the late 90s, I held a position of senior software developer for the Board of Education in the city where I live, and they had Macs, Apple computers for administration back then. And they introduced me to a little code, no code software called FileMaker built by Apple. But it was like this tiny little UI with a database backend. And I was amazed at what we could do with it.
Yeah.
It was so good that, the government of Ontario mandated that we needed to have electronic scorecards for all the students. And they put a date. So they brought this problem to me, and they said, you need to fix it in 3 months. And like just students in my region, we had just teachers. We had over 2,000 teachers. And I'm talking 1997, right? So there is the internet just starting up. The connectivity among schools was non-existent. And I built this thing, the prototype, in 1 month with this no code, little code. Turned out to be a lot of code later, because the stuff that was missing, I had to write in software languages, and I ate it up. Thank God I was a professional developer, so that was no problem for me. But little did I know that actually we deployed in 3 months. It became official in 6 months. 2 years later, the government came with their own solution, and they spent over $5 million building it. And this little thing that we built, we deployed it to many, many, many schools. And I think the time invested plus the materials and everything else was less than $500,000. Now, the problem with this back then was that it was not scalable. So we had to do a lot of fixing in the back end and put a professional database in the back end, like an Oracle system in the back end to be able to correlate all the data. But they had it already back then. And what you guys are doing now is enterprise level, is incredible how this no-code concept has evolved over the years, right?
Yeah, I think it always was there, and lots of different companies were trying to tackle in a different way. But now I think it's the best time in history in regards to activating this technology, right? Because I think that there were also different, like for example, Lotus Domino was one of the ways to solve it, when you can build a lot of applications on Lotus nodes and kind of being able to juggle through them, but they were not enterprise ready. They were not getting that level of adoption. Now when we have these kind of powerful technologies, and also it gets really easy, because like if you think about a persona, someone who is not technical needs to understand how to build software, is not an easy to solve task. Now I think the technology allows us to do that. And my favorite metaphor, an example of that, is actually using a camera on an iPhone, because I remember when you were asking me about my childhood, when I was going to school, my father was a big fan of taking kind of pictures, like photographs. And I remember that process. Like he would take a picture, he would go to a quiet, dark room, and he would spend a lot of kind of time there, multiple hours, and then he would bring us like some pictures. And some of them were not really good, because like he didn't have an ability to check like what the pose correct, was the light correct. So that was very time-consuming process, and you needed to have very special skills to accomplish that. Now, a 5-year-old can take much better pictures in an unlimited fashion. Like you can take how many pictures, right? So you can take all the pictures in the world because of the democratization. And that's exactly the idea behind no code and low code, because we democratize it and make it accessible. Now people that haven't thought about technology are becoming technologists. And I like this another way of thinking about it that was brought by John Bertzenkevic, who is a leading analyst at Forrester. He mentioned that right now technology is becoming a competence, like a skill, meaning that it's no longer a unit, a department within like a larger corporation, and everything that you want to do about technology should be centered around this department. It's similar to, say, communication skills or presentation skill. Like I can be a business professional who has presentation skills or knows how to do a particular thing, and the same applies to technology. It's becoming the skill that now can be adopted and learned by a very wide range of people.
Beautiful. Tell me, Andy, how does a company manages 700 people in 25 countries with multiple cultures? It's not easy. I tell you, it's not easy because one of my businesses have people in 9 countries.
Yeah.
The only difference is that the countries that we have people on are Spanish and English, and we have some people on the Philippines, but they speak fluent English.
Correct. Yeah.
So, and even like that, it's hard to manage the culture. Like most of my skills, like what I do for my business, I'm just the chief advisor officer, and I love to just build the culture. That's my contribution to that business. How do you guys do it with so many people and so many languages?
I think there are multifaceted in it. First, you need to take culture very seriously, and I think that our CEO established from the day one this kind of concept is that we will take our culture very seriously, because this is the most important thing that we have, and I think that we never stepped away from this path. And we also understand that for some people, our culture is the best culture of the world, and people just adore being here. And you have a lot of people, like for example, in my team, I have a lot of people that have grown within the company. Like my old leaders have been with the company for 5 years, 6 years, and have grown from more starting positions to more leadership positions. Yeah, and there are also some people for whom our culture won't be the best one, and we appreciate it, and we need to understand that our values, the way how we think about it, is built for us and is built for people whom we want to have around, right? And like for example, one of our strong, I'll give you two examples for our values. One of our values is genuine care. Genuine care is when we really think about relationships we are building with customers, with partners, with our employees, and we try to take off any like corporate decisions, corporate hats from this conversation. Like if we have a customer who has a problem, we want to address this customer as a human being, right? And that's kind of a foundational part of everything that we do. And for lots of people that are coming from more like larger corporate environments and backgrounds, for them it won't be very intuitive and easy to understand. Or for example, another values that we have is passion, right? So we want people to be passionate, because things that we do are incredible. You cannot kind of build this industry and solve these problems without having a passion. And it's really fun to have passionate people around, but not everyone goes to their work with a passion, right? And you need to acknowledge that. I think that being like staying on your course was always important. Reinforcing it, hiring and leadership development is also very important. Like I think that sometimes we have a lot of cycles when we make a decision, and still a lot of senior leaders involved in those steps. But because we understand by bringing someone to the team, we are influencing the culture. You can reinforce it, and you bring people that will make it richer, stronger, or you can bring people that would not reinforce it. And I think it's when you make this decision, even though you might be in a hurry, you need to feel in this position because you have a lot of work to do. But I think that this is one of the most important decisions that you are taking, and more thorough you go, the better results you're going to get in the end.
Andie, what is your distribution process? Do you have value-added resellers? Do you have partners, or how do you work?
I'm glad you asked this question. So yes, we do have we have a lot of partners globally. Right now we have 700 of them, and they help our customers to implement software and help them to gain all those skills for no code, and also they help to represent us in lots of different cultures and countries. Like for example, I just recently, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a call with an incredible partner from Panama, and they already built like 7 or 8 customers. They joined us just recently, already got 7 or 8 customers, from banks to local automotive dealerships, other organizations, and they're really kind of helping us with penetrating this market. Without them, of course, we won't be having that type of an access to a market of Panama. Even though it's an incredible country, obviously you cannot kind of wrap the entire world and do everything everywhere until you get to a point when you are like very big, and that's where you can do that.
That's beautiful, Andie. If people would like to become partner with you, or they would like to see the technology, because again, your software automates any business process, right? Or it's only focused on CRM?
Yeah, so it automates all sorts of different workflows that will have kind of user interaction, right? So CRM is a big element of it, because we do have ready-to-use products for that. but not necessarily is the only element. Like if we think about a bank, like you can automate everything from like customer interaction in a branch, like how can I get the customer profile, to customer onboarding and compliance clearance, like know your customer, all the needed checks, to managing products. Like for example, you can act like you can request a credit card, or you can open up a new checking account, kind of supporting that decision and connecting with a core banking system. Everything related to sales, marketing, customer service, approvals, decisions, underwriting, even lending, all of that can be done with Creatio. There are certain things that we don't do because it's not kind of our core. Like for example, we won't be building a mobile app for consumers for a bank, right? That's not our core. But a lot of different things like we do from a process point of view. And in regards to partner kind of engagement and partner management, we engage a lot of different partners. Like if you're passionate about this technology, you have operations, you understand your go-to-market, it might be a very strong alignment. So we do have a lot of larger institutions like global system integrators, but we also have sometimes local regional boutique organizations that grows this business very quickly. And we also have like this concept of genuine care is very connected to everything we do with partners, because we think about our channels partners as our extended family and our kind of extended community. You cannot treat your partners differently, because if you do that, then it just becomes a lot of silos. It's so easy to create conflicts between like your organization and a partner organization. So you have to have this very strong culture focus on channels. And I think that we have an incredible leader in our company who does it. And that's the reason why our partners contribute to around 50% of our revenue is been sourced or driven by our channel partners. And we are very proud of it.
That's beautiful. You know, so I'm a man of faith. I'm a born again Christian, and I've been reading my Bible for the last year and a half, which I didn't before in my entire life, and I'm a very old man. And I'm beginning to discover that it's a spiritual laws. And once you follow those laws, regardless of what you believe in or whether you don't believe in anything, once you follow these laws, you're going to have the expected results. One of them is the law of reaping and sowing. And now I realize why you guys grew so fast. Because I'm fascinated, you know, apart from being a technologist, I'm a business owner. I love business, I love enterprise, I love the free world. And I'm fascinated when I see companies like yours where you just blow up in such small time, especially in a market so polluted. I mean, not polluted, but so busy, right? You have Salesforce, you have all these guys from India doing Soho CRM, that they have customized forms. And here we are with a company so strong that was so fast, but now I see why. You have a winning solution, right? So not only you're distributing the software yourself, you're adding massive value to your clients, but now you have these channel partners that are creating a beautiful triangle where everybody wins. And I assume then by having your solutions, they're also going to save a ton of money, right? And maintenance nightmares, right?
Yeah, I think that the ROI is very strong, because like imagine you have a team that does kind of another solution, say Oracle or Salesforce or whatever solution is being used. Obviously, we can the maintenance cost of like for the team, for the ability to customize, will be significantly lower. Like you don't need to have an army of developers to maintain the solution, because you're distributing it, because you're democratizing this technology. So of course it's that side of the house. And another side of the house, because of the time to value, because you can roll out this really very quickly, you can also go ahead of the market, and this gives another set of ROIs. Like my favorite example is one of our customers that they were able to, they didn't have very strong, they were selling kitchens to consumers, and they didn't have a very strong front office application to really process all the interactions. And they have a very distributed user base of 7,000 people, right? And it's very important for them to be in touch with them and really kind of engage and lead this behavior. And they were able to deploy the solution in 3 months for 7,000 people. And if you calculate like the amount of value that this solution brings to the table, because for each of them, it helps them to get more leads, it helps them to win more deals. It helps them with the conversion. So if you multiply by, and also it helps them to be more productive and say like almost more than 1 hour a day in regards to the work, so they can reinvest this into relationship building. Like if you calculate the real ROI of these types of solutions, it goes through the roof. Like it's like, usually in those types of conversations, when a customer wants to have a discount, we always say like, look, see like how much of the value. It's unfair sometimes because you see how much value you can get.
Yeah, I remember, about 5 years ago, we were hired to implement a CRM in this startup insurance company, but it was a large startup. And, I told them, I wish I knew about you guys, but I told them, what you're going to spend with this vendor and us, I could probably write this from scratch and save you a couple of $1,000,000. But the CEO had other ideas and he wanted to work with this vendor. So we actually did it, implemented, we wrote all the software with the vendor's custom language.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was about 5 times more money than they thought. And now they have to pay this huge licensing cost. And every time that they need to do something, they have to write the source code again because it's all customized, right?
Oh, that's the idea behind evangelizing this. I think that there are lots of overselling in the technology space as well. There are lots of, because it's so busy, people tend to gravitate to things that like other people do, right? So like, I have my neighbor uses this technology. I want to use the same technology because that's kind of well known and it's safe, right? And that's the reason why we're very passionate and we're very grateful for those types of opportunities to evangelize the idea of no code, because those companies that are early investors into this approach can get ahead of their competitions. Like they can really build a very strong center of excellence, competences, skills, and when time comes, they will be able to digitize and bring those digital solutions to the market much quicker. And that can help them to not only kind of stay competitive, but also like earn market share, transform quicker, and be really aligned with their strategy.
Beautiful. Andie, I can't believe we're almost at 40-minute mark. I could be talking to you about technology all day long.
Time flies, yes.
Thank you so much for your time, Andie. Because of people like you is that these countries keep evolving, right? And that's why I love doing this podcast. For me, it's a blessing to get to know more people and learn more about you guys, the true leaders of the world. Wonderful. One last question before we finish. If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write in
it? Freedom to own your automation. That's probably what I will write. Like because in the end of the day, this technology brings freedom to people to do whatever they want with the technology, and I think that freedom is the underlying value of this technology.
You know what? And I'm gonna take that as a general advice, even without the company. The way I got freedom is through automation. Correct. The only reason why I can spend my time doing this podcast, I run 3 different podcasts now, is because I learned how to automate the money-making side of my life.
You see?
So once you create something that by itself and makes you financially independent, you have true freedom, and it's through automation.
I agree with you. No one likes busy work, but sometimes we do so much of that because we are lacking automation. Automation, like some people are afraid of automation, that it will take their jobs or like will put them out of the context. But I do believe it's a saver if you look at this in the right way. If you have the right strategy, you need to like. I recently had this interview with Seth Godin, whom I adore, and I got this privilege to interview him for one of our events. And he said a brilliant line. Like every time when I think about it, I keep coming back to this line. He said, either you work for technology or technology works for you. I think that this is kind of the mindset that people in the modern world should use.
That's beautiful, Andie. Thank you so much for your time again. If people would like to become a partner or find out more about your business, where can they find you?
It's Creatio.com. We have our partner section, and you can submit the partner application or request right from there. If you want to see the demo, you can also request demo. We have a chat bot. We have also modern technologies. So Creatio.com, go there and we will find a way how to engage and connect with you.
Beautiful. Andie, thank you so much for your time. God bless you. Have a beautiful rest of the week.
Same for you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Blessings. Yes.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leaders in Tech podcast. Check in next week to keep learning how to use technology and leadership to change the game. See you next time.